this work, I feel like I have to go back in time just a few years, to the moment when my sister-in-law gifted me a tube of bath salts. About yay big, like about over there. The choice of jar, the typography, each part of this item so thoughtfully selected and designed, I immediately wanted to know every single thing about this miniature beauty. Everything about the tube was artful and magical. A few months later, I saw images online of Warwick Lavender products, and they were totally unlike any product photos I had ever seen. I had to know who was behind them. I am not so sure of the order of events after that. Claire says she Instagram stalked me. I thought maybe it was the other way around. And then we chatted on the phone one afternoon, and I think it was a Sunday because it felt like a Sunday. It felt like a Sunday in my mind. After rambles about art projects and ideas, workshops, and a whole assortment of things swirling around, I got off the phone and I said to John, I think I just made a friend. This is really a love fest. I'm sorry. I really love Claire. The most magnificent of creative tornadoes surrounds this farm, and Claire is at its center. In that conversation, she invited me to the farm to visit. A day in maybe early March, the lavender was taking its winter nap beneath the soil. I walked these fields and could see her vision, her whole vision for the farm. Claire laid it out so perfectly, floating from one spot to another, painting the image with her words, a spot to sit with a cup of tea here, string lights over there, and the old tennis court over there, an Airbnb in that cottage, and an artist alcove at the end of this barn, and it went on, and I followed along for all of it. I've long held the belief that something magical happens when creatives come together and share their practice in communion with others. I've had an obsession for quite some time with the idea of artist colonies. Perhaps certain places around the world that for some reason, some perhaps magnetic pull, draw together and become a home for artists who live in community with one another. Maybe this obsession came from my mother, from my mom's stories of her art-focused high school that she attended, or hearing about her musical practices and collaborations late into the night during her university years. Perhaps it was also the reading about an especially famous art colony that grew up around the 1930s in the mountains of Western North Carolina, where I went to college, called Black Mountain College. If you've heard of it, you know. The immigrant and author Louis Adamek, I always say his name wrong, wrote about his time at Black Mountain College. I had thought to stay an hour or so and then go. And to shorten a long tale, instead of staying overnight, I remained for 2.5 weeks. I can see a similar pursuit unfolding here on the farm. Although I have no intention of staying for 2.5 months. Oh, 2.5 months. He stayed for 2.5 months, not weeks. We as guests on this farm are witness to genius and another magnetic pull. History, nature, art, and love all live here. And we are so fortunate to be welcomed into it. As Elsa, the main character of my new favorite streaming show, 1883. Anybody seen it out there? You must all go watch this show immediately. Reminds us, there is a moment where your dreams and your memories merge together and form a perfect world. That is heaven. Can we have art without the natural world? Surely. Can we have the natural world without art? Okay. But delight is in them both, working their magic together in unison. I felt that unison begin when Claire suggested a few days after my first visit to the farm that I consider a creative residency, which would involve a week of exciting new possibilities, joyously overlapping passions, and contributing to one another's creative processes. Like the botanicals that give my work life, with time, attention, and a little bit of watering, this idea grew into reality and became real for me this past summer. After I unpacked and settled into this place of creative inspiration and possibility, I took time to walk the grounds and reacquaint myself with the farm I would call home for the next 6 days. As I walked through the lavender fields that get to watch the sun set each evening, I felt lost, but in the best possible way. To be lost like my statement over there, has negative connotations, unable to find the way or not knowing one's whereabouts. The implication being that one took a wrong turn or lacks direction. And as I've gotten older, and maybe you all can agree, the feeling of being lost has become one more of delight than of fear or sorrow. On some weekdays, my greatest hope is that John, my husband, will jump in the car with me and be up for getting lost among the back roads we drive past every day. It's hard to truly get lost when we are tied to an agenda or a smartphone. One has to go out of their way to be immersed in another place and another time. My time here on the farm was otherworldly. I was lost in the most beautiful way, without a tether to my life back home. I existed on a different timeline. It's really amazing. I observed different patterns and learned new things about myself. This time was sacred. Just in making mistakes, we often find answers. It was in the getting lost that I found my way to my work and a new home for my heart. My hope is that you let yourself be immersed in this work, that it would become an invitation for you to get lost, even for just a minute. My heart skipped a beat when I recently heard the suggestion to see land is to be silenced by it. I would say the same is true of art, and when land and art converge for me, there is communion unlike any other. My world hums in perfect harmony. This is my holy communion. When I walk, I see shapes and compositions. I study each blade of grass and how I think it will render on paper. I dream up compositions that look most like nature, but while also being whimsical. I am just as enamored of the process as I am with the final product. This process makes me slow down. It makes me feel my way through each step. As you experience it tonight, I hope that you also can feel that. I want you to be in this spot, particularly, this one, with me, because here is where divinity is. Most of you know that at the beginning of June, my dear father passed away. He was my kindred soul, one that always made me feel at home and at ease. A friend who lost their father recently wrote, "I will be homesick for my father for the rest of my life." And there are no better words to describe my own feelings. But, kind of like getting lost, in the absence of him, I see so clearly now. As restoration architect and historian, my father studied each detail and honored the past as he presented the future. As the farm became my home for the last week in June, it felt like my father had somehow planned this. I can't describe to you just how much I felt my father's presence along me during my artistic residency. It felt as if something cosmic had taken over and placed me here. During this residency, I found more meaning in my work than I ever had in the past. I found meaning in each blade of grass, each lavender blossom, and in each sunset. I felt meaning in every personal connection I made with visitors to the farm, which were aplenty, because the farm is a very robust revolving door of wonderful, amazing people. All of these pieces seemed to be working separately before I came here for the week. And as I folded into this family, the Rosens, the dear Rosens, it all seemed to make sense. I said to Claire yesterday, fighting back a few tears, just like now, that my holy artistic communion here changed my life for the better. There are no other words than that. I can't thank you enough for coming. It is so meaningful to look out and see all of you here. This is amazing. I've never had this experience before, and it's so deeply meaningful to me. Thank you. I also just want to say a quick thank you to Claire. Clearly, I just thanked her for like 4 pages.
Yes, I think I got it.
And to Ed and Dolly, who couldn't be here tonight, but who are the owners and mom and dad, and just the most amazing people. They have brought this farm back to life with the help of their 4 daughters, who also I want to thank Charlotte and Camille and Lily, who's not here, but you can feel them here all the time, and I'm so grateful to them. I'm also so grateful to Katie, Holly, Kai, and the entire Warwick Furnace Farm family who really helped bring this piece to life, which I'm actually going to talk to you about in a minute after I stop crying. And then to my own family, to my mama, and to my brother and Nick, and to my dad. I couldn't be here without all of their help. And of course, to my John, my husband. I just don't have any words. Okay, so a lot of you have questions about the cyanotype process, and so I thought I would give you a quick demo of that process with this piece. So this is sort of my hero piece of my time here. I said to Claire, I want to make a piece that's as big as I can make. And she was like, let's do it. I was like, I love you. And we did it. So one night after a delicious dinner, I think it was probably 12 o'clock, I don't know, you lose track of time on the farm. Kai, who was here, I don't know if he's still here, and Claire and I said, you guys, we have to paint the solution onto this at night. We have to let it dry overnight, and it has to be in the dark. And they were like, okay, let's go. So we got our paintbrushes, and we each took a third of this, and and I showed them how to brush on the chemicals. You really got to swing your body to do it this big, to get a nice even coating of cyanotype solution.
Yeah, we weren't nervous at all. Don't mess this up.
Then it dries overnight. And then the next morning, a lot of people contributed to plants. Kai, in particular, contributed to probably half the plants on here. He picked a bunch of plants, we talked about them. And then I need quiet when I do this. And so I was, everyone leave.
Yes.
And then I laid out in the dark all of this composition. So you kind of have to feel your way through this composition. And then when I was ready, everyone came and lifted a piece of plexi and put it over top, making sure not to move the plants. Plexi sometimes has a little bit of a static cling, so it can be kind of tricky. It's all this delicate balance and dance, and everyone danced in perfect harmony. It was amazing. And then we lifted it up, opened the barn doors, put it out on the table, let the sun work its magic. We all are ah! And then I was like, it's time. I could just tell. It was before the timer went off, but I knew it was time. We brought it back in, closed the doors, took all the plants off, rolled it up, brought it outside, and then hosed it off. So what happens in that process is the solution that covers the paper is light sensitive to the UV light, so sun or a UV lamp, in this case the sun. Where the plant blocks that solution, that will leave the silhouette of the plant because it doesn't get exposed. The sun can't penetrate through the plant, and so that is still water soluble. So in the final washout, which is the developer, this is an old photographic process, so it's a photographic process, but it's not a photograph, it's the semantics, it's all these little tiny photographic words that are confusing sometimes. And so where that solution wasn't exposed, it got washed away and it leaves the shape of the plant. You have to wash for 20 minutes to make sure that the solution is all off. And then with a piece of paper this big, it is one of the most challenging things to work on because you don't want your paper to rip. And so it's just, again, this delicate balance and dance with each other and with the hose and with everything and trying to get it to drip and not get it to take. It's amazing that it worked. I look at this piece and I see my whole time here, and I see community, and I see love, and I see nature, and I see conservation, and I see all the things that are happening here on the farm, but I also see all the things that all of us are doing. You all are here because of 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 of those things. Not just friendship, but because you believe in art, or you believe in nature, or you believe in all of this. And it is this communal experience that keeps places like this alive. and it is just so amazing to be invited into this space. And I just can't thank you all enough for being here. If you have questions, please.
And if you want to watch her doing this tomorrow and Sunday, she will be here doing demonstrations from 12 to 4, Saturday and Sunday.
Yes. Claire just said if you guys couldn't hear in the back, I will be here for if you want to come back and see the show or hang out in Claire's studio. Or if you want to know more about the process, I will be here 12 to 4 Saturday and Sunday.
Tomorrow?
Yeah. Tomorrow is Saturday and Sunday is the day after. So just giving it back to you. So please feel free to come and bring people. Like if you had a great time tonight, this is what happened when I came to the farm for the first time. I was like, everyone must see this. Everyone must be here. So bring friends, like bring people, show them the work, and like talk about all this cool stuff together. I also want to say, if you have read here, I give a portion of my proceeds to land conservation and management in Pennsylvania. They work a lot. Pickering does a ton of conservation work right here. And I want you to know that that's a part of my heart and my business, and it's also a huge part of the Rosens, and also a portion of any sale made in this month, it'll be up until September 30th, also goes to the farm, so that we can keep doing things like this. So, questions? Yes, Nancy.
I would like to hear more about the blue. Is that typical of this process, or was that something that you chose?
No, it's this process.
It's the process.
Yes, so the process is called cyanotype. Cyan is blue, and type is print. So essentially it is a blueprint. So also the tie for all this history and architectural, everything, it all kind of ties back. I'm like, oh, maybe Dad's blueprint chemicals had an effect on my brain. So yes, it is always blue, but you can kind of finagle it sometimes, and now there are other solar fast processes that are not cyanotype, but they're similar chemical reaction that will yield different colors.
Okay.
I'm not really interested.
The blue is wonderful.
I'm not super interested in like red,
No.
so it's not really my style. Like,
What is your wish for this piece? Have you thought of that?
I would like this piece to be sold.
Would you like to buy it?
No.
I can hear you.
Are there any dealers here tonight? Because I think you better mark it up.
Andrea.
What did you use for they look like butterflies to me. Like, I mean, I'm assuming it's not a real butterfly.
Do you want to answer that?
For my still life work, I have a lot of specimens.
Louder for the people in the
Sorry,
back.
butterflies that, sometimes you find them on the ground, and I have a number of them in my studio for my still life work. So we pulled some out to add, and I love them. So.
If any of you follow him on Instagram, I put a video up of this piece being made, and my reaction, what caught by Charlotte, of that butterfly is like, I think I say like, holy shit. I put that.
Your expression is priceless.
Yeah, I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've done butterflies before, but I just feel like it's Claire's magic that like that butterfly is like her, I guess. 'Cause, like, it came out, like I've never seen a butterfly actually come out. They usually look like more like this. Even if they have a variation of color in their wings, they usually come out like this. So the fact that this actually
Was
created, like,
translucent,
the
yeah.
detail of the wings was incredible. Any other questions? Yeah.
Can you work with red light? Can you see what you're doing?
You actually can have a little bit of regular light because a regular light bulb is not UV. So you can use a red light. I used, where you guys came in, that big barn door closes. and I just worked in there, so there was like a little bit of light. I wasn't completely blind, but you don't need a red light like old dark room.
So when you hose it down, this is what you see?
Yes, it's not as dark blue when you hose it down. It takes about 24 hours for
And then
the
it
full
comes-
oxidation period to kind of cure your cyanotype, and that's when you get the most, like the blue that will be
Permanent.
Thank you. Yeah.
Got it, thanks.
How could you do one as big as that wall?
I think you would. I mean, I have these questions too, Mike. I appreciate.
We're working
I
on
think
it.
you probably have to do it on a piece of fabric.
Do like electron beam?
That's a good idea.
It's an electron beam.
We'll talk after.
We'll talk after. Any other questions? You all, yes. It's just paper and then mounted onto a board and then float framed. So a piece this large doesn't have a piece of glass or plexi because it would just weigh so much. I mean, we could, but I actually just really liked the way that it looked. I did, the one on the other side was the first big one that I did, and I had that framed that way, and I was like, that's what I want for this one.
What about longevity?
That's a great question. So I've had cyanotypes in my house forever, like, I mean, 20 years, 25 years, forever. Sorry. Not forever, but like in length of your like art in your house. It's been hanging for a while, and they don't seem to do much. I wouldn't put it in direct sunlight because I wouldn't put much art in direct sunlight. Especially something like this that doesn't have a UV coat. Like all of these pieces here have a UV protected glass, like 99% protected.
And did you tell them that you made your dress?
Yes, that's true. Oh,
And mine.
I made our dresses.
So
You
good.
can put cyanotype solution on anything natural. So cotton, silk. I've seen people do it on wood, paper. You know, there's like a lot you can do with the process. But I'm also in the works with getting some of my work replicated onto fabric.
Cool.
So stay tuned for that. There's a hint of that in the middle. The runner is a project that we are working on right now.
Cool.
Please enjoy. Thank you so much for coming. I'm so grateful for your presence here. It means so much to me and to Claire,
Yes.
to her whole family. It's incredible. And yeah,